Hey everybody, this is Joe. Thank you for watching my Giga-Texas construction update video.
Well, welcome back to Giga-Texas for the start of another work week. It's the 5th of June, 2023, and a lot of activity going on. I did have to start a little later because we had some severe thunderstorms come through the area early this morning, and when I arrived it was still raining, so I had to delay my flight about 45 minutes before I could begin to fly. But as you can see, it is now cleared up and it's pretty sunny and a little bit sultry out here today. But a few things that I want to talk about that we'll see in the video today. On the south end, GeoPier work has resumed, but now on the southeast side near the stamping machine structure, and then in that area where they put those white pipes, and they've previously done the CFA piles. Speaking of which, the CFA drills and cranes have moved to a different portion of the site today and are starting to resume that drilling sort of in the middle section near the south wall of the factory. We also see more gravel mix being spread around that site, and then on the southwest side we see more of that trench work for the pipes that are going to be installed. Now interestingly, when I went up to the west main entrance, I noticed that the Model Y with the cow horns on the hood is still there, but also they brought the trailer back that was used during the shareholders day, and it has that graffiti of the Cybertruck. So I don't know if there's an event coming up or if they just completed an event and we're using that as a backdrop. So pretty interesting to see that has changed. And then the last major area that I want to discuss for the intro is on the very far east side. We've seen where they do a lot of the recycling of the pallets, crates, and other packing materials that are used to bring in the equipment that's being installed in the factory. Also near that area, that's where they do recycling of some of the vehicle bodies if they don't pass test or if they're just used for testing and no longer needed. But that area, I believe, is now being relocated to the southeast side, where we saw that clearing and then some material being added to that area. But also recently we saw a kind of a strange ramp kind of structure being built with old concrete sections, some dirt, and then some concrete being poured on top. As you can see by these images, it's really come a long way, and I think this may be the new location for recycling. And if that's the case, that means that they're continuing to move things out on that far east and north side near where the battery cathode plant is, relocating that, so maybe we'll start seeing some more construction or at least some changes near that area. But otherwise, a lot more to see today. I do fly quite a bit of the site, so I hope you enjoy that. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you have an outstanding week coming up. Take care.
My drones are ready and raring to go. Let's go flying over Giga-Texas. Well, good morning and a nice day to fly here at Giga-Texas. You can see that there's a lot of water on the ground and on the roads. That's because a large thunderstorm came through this morning. It was still raining when I got here, but now it looks like everything is cleared up. So a great day to take a look around Giga-Texas. Now we're going to start here on the southeast side, where a lot of activity is going on to extend the building. And also, as you can tell right in the middle of the screen, the River Road extension is really starting to take shape. It looks like the two lanes going to the north here are starting to really become defined. A kind of an intersection with gravel right in the middle of the screen, and then you can see River Road on the south side of the Cyber Pond continuing up towards that south bridge. We also see that there's been some changes at that south end, and after we fly around on this east side and the east side of the building, we'll come back and take a look at that in detail. But as we fly over the green belt here, We see the ponds are definitely full because of all the rain, which is very unique and different for this part of Texas now that we're into June, but it helps make everything very green, as you can tell. The clearing just in the middle of the screen has no real activity right now. Neither has that new graded section that's sort of oval looking right to the south of that filled in water pond. It's actually a sedimentation basin is the way it's designed, but right now it looks like a bit of a pond with all of the water. As we fly over these contractor trailers and the parking lot, we get a good view of some of the activity that is going on here on the east side. Now, a lot of those blue items that you see, I believe those are actually ice buckets with water for the crews, and then they are distributed around the site every day. And since it's starting to get warm here in Giga-Texas and this region of Texas, I think it's good that we see that all of those are being placed around the site. We're going to see quite a bit of them as it continues to get hot. Now, some of the white components here waiting for movement into stamping 2, and also some interesting wrapped items nearby, but I think all of this is going to be going inside very soon. And then here on the southeast corner, on the left-hand side of the screen, a lot of rebar cages for footings and also for piles, but not really a lot of change there. What has changed is the GeoPier work here in this section. You can see those white pipes that are installed in those trenches. Underneath this section, the continuous flight auger piers have already been built, and now they are doing the GeoPier drilling and preparation for those kinds of piers. The gravel mix that we just flew over, and you'll see again on the left-hand side of the screen, that's used to fill these bores, and then it's compacted down to make the actual GeoPiers. And I believe that what we're seeing now is where they're preparing for the footings and where those square rebar cages will eventually be installed. So something to watch for. But otherwise, it's really great to see that GeoPiers are working on this side of the factory. On the southwest side, we can see something similar happening. So it looks like they are working on the south side of the building, the wall section as well, and then moving to the south. And here we see the continuous flight auger drill and cranes. That drill gives you a really good idea of the depth that they are drilling to make those reinforced piers. And it looks like they're working right now on the south side in the center section, and then working to the south. You can see some of those rebar cages waiting and some crew getting ready to start working. Now here on the south side, the river road extension and some of the grade work, it looks like it's pretty wet, so they may need to let that dry out, but we should see that resume and this road work continue very soon. Now, on the other side of the small power lines, I was looking to see if some of the solar panel crates and pallets had been removed. We've been seeing some of them put up onto the roof, but it looks like there's still more to be moved. As we turn back towards the main site, here's some more GeoPier equipment waiting to get operational. This tall one that you see in the center, that's the compactor that will go in and actually break up and crush down that gravel mix in the bores to make those piers. The south side former platform location, not a lot of work is going on there. It's still open. We can see inside. Here we see some of these white pipes. These are the ones that are being installed in the trench work near this southwest corner, and very similar to what was done on the southeast corner. And then here the trench work is continuing. Some of the pipes have already been installed, a deeper excavation on the left-hand side, and it looks like they may be getting ready to do the trench right down in the middle of the screen, moving back towards the right side of the screen as well. But I think that this is ultimately going to mirror what we saw on the southeast side. And there's that red tape that kind of divides that construction zone to keep some of the other equipment out. As we pull back over the trailer and where some of the rebar is being stockpiled, and some of those rebar cages, those cylindrical ones that are stored here for those CFA piers, you can also see how much rain has been ponding on this side, but also all the gravel mix, which is really helping to mitigate the mud issue. So that should not really affect the speed of construction now on this side. As we continue towards the temporary loading platform, not a lot being loaded inside. It looks like there is one item on top of the platform, the remnants of the crates that brought in some of those items that we talked about previously. And then on the roof, this is where I've seen some of those pallets of solar panels being stockpiled here. It looks like there's about 7 or 8 of them, some HVAC ducting on the left-hand side. And I also noticed near the section here with solar panels, there's crews that are doing some work, and this may be, again, to prepare for either installing some of the HVAC that we saw in those stacks on the roof, or maybe they're getting ready to do some work on the solar panels. And there's more solar panels on 2 different sections here of the roof waiting for installation, as you could see. As I come back down on the west side near this loading ramp, we can see some more materials on the ground getting ready to be moved inside. This is all to support the construction of the production lines that are going on inside this portion of the factory. So let's get across the highway and take a look at some of the activity here. As we talked about before, this section of the clearing used to be a material storage section. In fact, the whole thing was. It looks like almost all that's being moved now to that new section you see in the upper right. The warehouse on wheels trailers, there's still quite a bit here. It's very active. And we see these piles of broken up concrete. These are being continued to be broken down into smaller and smaller pieces, and then they are being hauled off-site for recycling. This water detention pond gives you an idea of how much rain we've had over the last 24 hours, and also the amount of the materials stored here on this clearing. Now, I believe that most of this, with the exception of some of the trucks that are delivering new material, but this was over on the other material storage location, which is all being cleared out. And that's because they're doing some additional earthwork to extend that section to the north. Here we see more of the containers on the left and more materials, some of these steel corrugated pipes, and a lot of steel materials being stockpiled on that section as well. The left-hand side of the screen, you can see the road that's going to be working its way through the center of the section, and then here is that clearing location that they are preparing to extend the material storage to the north. And by pulling back here, it gives you a pretty good idea of how that is all shaping up. So let's cross back over the highway and take a look at the further developments near the west side of the factory. Still haven't seen much changes with the main entrance itself, although I think that they recently had some sort of function, because my previous video they were putting out some kind of dividing lines on the concrete as if it were to be a queue for people to be coming in. So I'm not sure exactly about that. But also in relation to that, we see the Model Y with the horns, and also that trailer that has that Cybertruck graffiti, and that was applied during Shareholders Day. So they brought that back, and I think maybe they had some sort of internal Tesla event here recently. As we get to this section, the end of line is very busy. This is where the new vehicles exit the factory for the very first time. This is a new temporary location as they continue to do assembly of the production lines inside on that southwest part of this building. But you can tell that there's quite a bit of Model Ys getting prepared to be moved over to the east side. And then once they go through charging and testing and calibration, they'll be picked up by trucks and moved off the site. So it's great to see the amount of activity here at the end of line. As we continue further to the north, the stain work is continuing. Their crews are putting more of the plastic on the windows to continue that stain work to the north. This is about where it ends right now. The fact that we've had all the rains, I'm not sure if that's going to cause them to delay maybe to the afternoon or until the wall panels are completely dry, but definitely continuing to get closer and closer to this northwest corner. And I'm really interested to see how that looks when they get there. I just noticed this recycling bin, and it's kind of hard to tell what material is in there, but it looks like it may be some material that's going to be recycled at some point. And if you happen to know what it is, let me know in the comment section. On the northwest section roof, one of the things that I want to show you is that this new enclosure is now pretty much completed. It used to have a temporary scaffolding and plastic around it, but it looks like it's been completed. It also is a little different color than the rest of them, so I'm not sure if it's just a different manufacturer or if it has a different purpose. But it is good to see continued progress, although slow, on this northwest corner of the 4680 production cell section. As I bring the drone down on the north end, we get a good view of these two platforms, one for the third floor, one for the fourth floor, and again, that's where the 4680 cell production is located. We see these containers. Those are mostly used to clean out piping systems or maybe the fire water loop, and then contain that contaminated water to be taken offside for treatment. And also on the north side here of the paint shop, we see more of this excavation for the fire water loop, and much more excavation here for the conduit that will extend all the way up to the Megapack and the new electrical switch yard. And they're putting in concrete vaults here, kind of at an angle. And then right under where that those excavators are, going underneath the wall, is where the conduit goes inside the casting machine structure. There's some interesting wood crates deliveries, a lot more work on the widened berm with more of that conduit and the concrete vaults being installed, and also quite a bit of the castings being stockpiled on this side as well. You know, I've been wondering with Cybertruck coming up and all of those castings, how are they going to manage both the Model Y and the Cybertruck castings? That's something unique that Giga-Texas will have that none of the other factories will have. So I think that'll be something interesting to watch for. Also, as I zoom in here where the arrow is located, they are continuing to do excavation work behind these three receiving doors, and they've removed quite a bit of concrete. They've been moving steel and other building materials into that section, so I'm kind of curious what it is that they are rebuilding and preparing for behind those receiving doors. But let's fly up back over the power lines and bring the drone down over Tesla Road, and let's take a look at the Megapack site today. Now, I mentioned before these concrete pads have been delivered. There's a lot of them, and I think that these may be what the Megapack sit on. But I've had a viewer say that no, he believes that these are just for transformers. I'm not sure if I agree with that or not, but we'll watch together and we'll see what happens with these concrete pads. More of the steel poles waiting for installation here by these work shops that are made with these containers and the covers. Also here, two different kinds of gravel mix have been spread. The darker right in the middle where the Megapacks will be installed. And you can tell the big difference between where the gravel is and the gravel is not with all the ponding of the water. But crews are still doing work here at this north end where the conduits come together near where the cable trays are located, and also where these screw type piers, those metal items projecting out of the ground, are located. And a good view here of how that cable tray looks today. And I will turn the drone around facing down to help with the glare of the sun, but also just give you a good view of how all of this conduit is coming together and how it will be joining in where these cable trays are located. Also a good overall view of how the Megapack site looks right now. More of the conduit stored on the right hand side of the screen waiting for installation, and then how this far north section looks, again with those screw type piers waiting for future construction on this side of the Megapack site. As I fly up over the power lines, I'll give you a good view of how the conduit is coming underneath the power lines over to near where the electrical switch yard is located, and also where a large excavation and a retaining wall has been installed. And what we see is at the bottom of this excavation, not only did they finish the concrete work, but they've already filled back in with some dirt. And they have some of these items, concrete vaults, and looks like maybe some conduit being prepared to go through this particular section. And again, as we speculate, that the retaining wall is just temporary. And once they're done with the construction here, I think that retaining wall will be removed. But here's a good close-in view of how the bottom of the trench looks today and the items that they have installed so far in this particular area. And as we look back at the rest of the electrical switch yard, we see that the gravel mix has been spread almost the entire site, which is really great to see. As we've talked about before, is the gravel serves as a sort of grounding mechanism. And they need to have that completely spread over the site before they can energize this system. And the progress that they're making is great. It shows that almost all of that is now completed. This particular pole has these interesting projections on 3 sides. I've had some viewers say that they believe that this is related to the Megapack site, and this will help redirect some of those high tension wires from this point over towards that site. And then those steel poles we saw in that staging yard at the south end of the Megapack site may be related to that as well. So definitely something to look forward to. So let's fly over to the battery cathode and die shop complex and see what progress is going on over there today. Despite all the rainwater on the site, the big thing that you can tell is most of the berm has been removed. There's just a very small sliver between here and the Martin Marietta batch plant. And this section is very wide now, much wider than it used to be. As we fly over this small workshop, I noticed that there's some crews working on some of these steel beams. It looks like they may be doing some modification, and perhaps these are going to be moved inside the die shop once they are done with whatever modifications that they are making. The die shop itself has pretty much all of the concrete walls installed. The roof, fortunately, is pretty much complete with the weatherproof membrane, considering all the rain that we've been having. And then here on the west side, near this very large door, I noticed what I think is a generator. And you can see that large white item, and that may be to provide electrical power for the temporary point until they are able to get the rest of the conduit installed. You can see what looks to be a pond with 2 rectangles in it. That's actually the depression where the electrical conduit is being installed right now. So as you can tell, obviously it's not completed and there will be no electricity going through there right now. On this side of the building, we can see the window line, areas where there's doors and receiving doors, and then on the right-hand side, where I believe the main entrance will be, with probably glass doors on that corner. The yellow crane is actually moved and is now pointing the other direction, so it looks like it may be getting ready to be used for either installing more concrete panels back on the cathode plant itself, or installing other items. But I'm going to bring the drone up to give you a bird's eye view of the size of the crane and the overall die shop and how it looks today, and the progress that continues to be made. As we go near the crane and through the alleyway, this will be a good view of that corner again, where I think is going to be the main entrance with glass doors. Some of these other doors, a very large receiving door as well. And the work that is going on near this chiller plant and the nitrogen vaporizers mostly is on that trench. It looks like there's some of those concrete pipe segments and manhole covers installed, and also some work between the vaporizers and the chiller plant itself, with more work on that roof. A lot of those white pipes sticking up through that grate material indicates that we're going to see quite a bit more pipe work done on at least that section of this structure soon, and I'm still waiting to find out what's going to happen on the left-hand side of the structure. Now, interestingly enough, I've had some reports saying that the blue water pipes bringing in the water for this complex of structures is now completed, and they've actually turned on the water, so there may be some water to these buildings now, which is another great sign. I'll get a close-in view here of the work that's going on the north end, specifically on the third floor. And it looks like they continue to work on those beams and getting ready for probably more concrete panels, and also the work on the receiving doors on the ground floor level. So I pull away just to show some of the materials that are being stored here. Not a lot of changes in the last couple of days since my previous video. And we see the work is continuing inside the cell test lab, that small steel structure, and also just how this east side, some materials, some of these containers that are for the contaminated water, and those are those white ones that we see here on the left-hand side of the screen, and then other containers and some trailers for the workers and their offices. As we get closer to these two platforms and the open section, get a good view inside again of that large 7-story platform. All the equipment, looks like some more work is being done near the base of that inside. And then those 4 tanks, I've heard that those are maybe mixing units for some materials inside of the battery cathode plant, but I'm not sure, so it's not something I'll continue to watch, and we'll figure it out together. Now, as I pull away, I'm going to get closer to the Colorado River, and I want to show you not only how this side of the factory site looks today, and many of the trailers where the construction crews have their offices, and also here the Martin Marietta maintenance shop, which predates Giga-Texas, is still here. But what I want to show you is that this large hill has normally been used for some recycling of materials, and then this area in the middle of the screen has been used to break up a lot of the shipping containers and crates and prepare them for recycling. Also with the vehicle bodies, you see that this is where they've done a lot of that recycling work for all those materials. And then in a later portion of the video, I'll show you where I think that this is being moved. And I think the reason why is that they're clearing this out, possibly for that River Road extension that we've been talking about on the south side, and it will eventually get to this point. As we fly over this material storage, one of the things I did notice, I want to point out, is this TKS trailer and all of these TKS materials that have been recently delivered, all of them in the white packaging. The 3 what look like large bathtubs have been here for some time, but all of this is part of a paint system, and it looks like they are getting all of the items together to eventually install inside of the factory. Now, I think that this is related to Cybertruck, and some people will say, why does Cybertruck need painting? And that is because the basic shell of where the crew or the passenger cabin will be is actually made out of stamped materials, and it's welded together. That portion of the Cybertruck will need to have some sort of painting, and then the stainless steel will hide that as the external skin. But that's just my theory, but something to watch for. This is the area I believe is being prepared for that new recycling system, and they have that kind of concrete, I don't know, loading dock or platform. And this gives you a good idea of how this overall site appears. But as we fly back over, I think this is where we may see some of that recycling taking place, and then they'll be able to use this platform to more easily load up that recycled material. Now, that is still speculation, but it'll be something that I monitor, and it explains why that ramp was made with some scrap concrete instead of a brand new structure. I noticed this also on my previous video, but I'll give you a closer in look. It looks like a lot of material related to mobile superchargers, maybe some of the battery storage for that, or at least the electronic cabinets for it as well. So very interesting. And the new car staging and transportation lot is very busy today. A lot of Model Ys, a lot of trucks I've noticed coming and going during my time flying here, moving the vehicles off, and you see another line of Model Ys arriving from the testing and calibration lot. So they're really moving the Model Ys quite a bit. The wind tunnel on the left is still not being used very much. And you can see this tent here. Looks like the thunderstorms that we had last night really did a number on that particular tent. Before we end the video, I wanted to give you a good look here at this new receiving door and also the concrete apron section that has been removed and is getting ready to be reconfigured, and just how it appears today. And it's, again, something that I'll be monitoring as time progresses. And those receiving doors go into the north part of Body in White. So it's interesting that they've reconfigured the factory that way, considering all of the production lines that are being set up inside the factory right now. But anyway, that's how Giga-Texas looked on this Monday, the 5th of June. A little bit of rain, but now sun. Great day to see quite a bit of very interesting developments around the site. As always, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed what you saw, and I hope you have a great rest of the week.